Aliza Tuachi, thanks for being on Fitness and Consciousness.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you might need to speak up just a little bit, but I think it'll be good. So, you are a biodynamic psychotherapist. I think that's a good way to start with, like, what is that and what do you do with that?
Well, it's psychology, but we focus a lot on the body work. I don't know if you ever heard of Wilhelm Reich.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So he's one of the founders of this whole corporal psychotherapy. It's not so big in the United States. It's much more big in Europe and other places in the world. Here in Mexico, there's a lot of it too. But it's what he realized was that the emotions it doesn't only stay in the mind. It goes more into the body, in the muscles. So we work, if you want someone to really change, because how many people talk and talk and talk about their problems and it just stays in their head. So what we do is really try to work on that body-mind connection. So that person could really feel and unfreeze those emotions that maybe were there since they were 3 years old. And that way you release them, and that way you have a change in your life for a better part. Also has a lot of symbolic, like some massages from, her name was Jared Boyson. I don't know if you heard of her either, but that's why it's biodynamic. It has a lot of combination of a lot of type of places.
So what would it,
What else?
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So, like, what would it look like then? So if you're talking about something from 3 years old, and so like you're talking about like some kind of trauma happens or something like that, and this is something that manifests in relationships later on, and then so you're trying to release that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, according to all this, is that we are all human beings. We're all neurotic. That's the word, right? Means that from 0 to 7 years old, we all had a traumatic experience, and I don't think there's a person that has no exception in the world that they had a small traumatic experience with their parents. According to that, depends what age, what it was, what circumstance it was. It creates their whole character and their whole being, and that way also their whole body develops. So what I do is also I read bodies, so you can see a person just by the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they move. You can see exactly what's their defense mechanism, and you can also see what is their biggest fears, and that way you can see their patterns in life just by looking at their body, by the way they walk, by the way they talk. So what we try to do here, what I do is that I work with that person according to their character. Not everybody's gonna react the same way according to their character. So like if you had a traumatic experience of, let's say, I don't know, maybe you had a very strict parent, very rigid, very very strict, you're going to develop, and it's going to show in your body. And that way you're going to take it on to your relationships, to the rest of your life. Unless we work on that, and what we have to do is our mind freezes in that stage. So you could say, look, I'm 30 years old, I'm an adult, but really, really, you're acting like a 3-year-old child because your mind's stuck in that 3-year-old child pattern of fear of abandonment or whatever. So that way you're always like looking and attracting, because everything's energy. So you're attracting those situations in life that are affirming and confirming. They're confirming your belief system that you created when you're a 3-year-old child. That's why it's the law of attraction. We attract what we believe, but we're carrying on these beliefs that also maybe sometimes it's not things that we went through, but sometimes it's also belief systems that we're carrying on from our parents too. Like very complex. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I've studied a little bit of that, and like what I've found, like through, like say my last like main girlfriend, for instance, and we've talked publicly about stuff before, so I'm not like releasing too much that she wouldn't approve of. But she had had some traumas from uh, childhood, like sexual stuff, and then uh, later on, she's picking like guys that cheated on her. She had like a husband that cheated on her, and then uh, like she's with me, and I'm like I've never cheated on anyone, and I'm like if I'm interested in someone, I'll just say it, and then like if we're going to like if we're on date number one, if there's going to be a date number two, I'm not going to see anybody else in between. And I know it might be kind of like weird for some people, but and if like the woman is interested in somebody else, if she's going to go out with somebody else besides me between date number one and date number two, then I'm not really interested. It's like I'm not like possessive or anything. So if we have date number two, it doesn't mean we're getting married and this whole thing. But it's like if we're both interested and we're seeing where it goes, then why mess it up with something else? So we were together, and that happened. And then so like we ended up breaking up, and we still talk sometimes. But then like she ends up with someone else that's more like he seems like more like wishy-washy, like maybe so, maybe not. He's like unsure. He's like back and forth. And I see like this pattern of like a lot of women, I think, they'll keep going back to these things, like instead of having like the guy that's unsure and is more attractive for some reason than the guy that's just like more simple. And do you think that like so do you think these like women, I mean maybe not her in this case, but or maybe so, but do you think that they're like picking these guys because they're like stuck in these old patterns and they almost prefer something that's uh, hectic and sad, and like how do you see that?
100%. That's 100%. It's something like called addiction to frustration. It's like we're all addicted to these like situations that just we know that's going to give us frustration and this and that, but it just gives us a sense that a lot of times what happens with, like if you want to connect it to the childhood, is that we link pain with love. So we feel like if there's no pain, there's no love, because the people who give us the most love and love us the most, which is our caregivers, are the ones that are the first ones to cause us pain. And it's not because they're bad parents. It's because there's no way a person, a human possible in way that can give you 100% your needs. Like what? Even if you're holding your child, your 2-year-old child, and you turn around for 2 seconds because you're looking at your cell phone, and now and they were in this whole time of the cell phones and this and that, it's like very hard, a lot of bad issues now. Well, it's not because you want to cause pain to the child. The child's going to feel pain. And even if you're the most perfect parent in the world, the child is also going to feel pain because he's going to say, I'm never going to be able to keep up with my parents' expectations. They're too perfect. I'm not perfect myself. So we always link that pain to love. What we have to, as adults, break that pattern and realize that pain is not love. Pain is not love, but we keep looking for pain because we think in our subconscious mind that pain is love. So yeah, also, if you're thinking like, let's say if your girlfriend that's always attracting the situation, also probably has to do with that situation that maybe I don't know how her relationship is with her father, but usually it does have to do with, or she has such a good relationship with her father, she's going to attract guys that she doesn't want to be committed to, because even if you say that they're wishy-washy and they're not committed, maybe the reason is that she's attracted to those guys is because she's the one that doesn't want to be committed. Deep down inside. All this, remember, that we only use our 5% of our conscious brain, and the 95% of our brain that really controls all our decisions and all those types of things, that's where it all belongs. That's why it's so important to meditate, because when we meditate, what we do is we open up that door, we open up that little door, and then we go in and we can really see these patterns and these beliefs and all these things that are really the motor that really controls our lives. And in that moment, instead of becoming a victim to all this story that you created in your subconscious mind, you start seeing the things as they are, and you start becoming the creator of your life. You start saying, oh, look, I'm attracting these guys because I'm addicted to pain. But guess what? I don't have to be addicted to pain anymore. I can know that love is love and pain is pain. I can separate it. And then once you realize that you start living in that way, and you could choose. You start choosing your life. And that way you start even manifesting and attracting what you really want, but you know exactly what you want. So like, maybe you don't want a committed relationship. Just admit it. Guess what? I'm too scared. I'm too afraid for a committed relationship because I'm scared of the close, deep relationship and that contact. That's why I attract all these guys. It's fine. Everything is fine. So at least be conscious about it and stop blaming it on all the guys that I attract in my life. Whenever me personally, I attract like certain toxic situations in my life, I do have to turn around into myself and look at myself and say, guess what? Why am I attracting this situation in my life? And then you start realizing that even let's say if it's in a group of friends, or if it's in a relationship, or whatever it is, you do start realizing that's a pattern that you are creating or attracting, because everything's energy. You start creating and attracting it. So until we don't really do the healing work, and we really do this inner healing work that we're supposed to do, because that's like one of the biggest pleasures in your life that you can ever receive, is going in and connecting to your true source. Like there's no greatest pleasure. Like they even did these studies that there's like these studies that there, even any sexual food, any pleasures, there's no comparing to the pleasure that you get when you meditate and you reach that high, that you reach that connection to your soul level. Unless once you master that meditation process and all that, and connection to your inner soul, even if you're eating or doing whatever you're doing, or you're having intercourse, whatever you're doing, once you're connected, you could get that high, because when you're in that meditative state, you could bring that state to whatever you're doing, whatever action. That's like mindfulness, no? So yeah, I hope we see that really our relationships is not only the fault of other people. It does have to do with our own responsibility of why are we attracting these things in our life, because what am I trying to prove to myself? No? Like,
yeah. Yeah, that it makes sense to me. And it's like in the case of her, it was like she was recognizing this stuff. And then I had this other girl that I was seeing, and I don't date a bunch of different women, but I just like to give real examples, because that's, what I know.
real.
It's real, yeah. And so like she was kind of doing the same thing, but like we met years ago, but she was really good friends with my girlfriend from several years ago, and that's how I met her. But then long story short, like we started to see each other. Like I went to her yoga class, and then she sends me a message asking me how I liked it, and then we met for dinner. And then like that day, she was like, we found out that we were both interested in each other from a long time ago, like when I was with my girlfriend that was her friend, but neither one of us said anything. We didn't say anything, do anything. We didn't in any way let the other person know that we were attracted. And so then we found out that day that we both were. And then so she's like the one that's like makes the first move and says something, and says that she wants like definitely a monogamous relationship, definitely like here we are, we're doing this thing. And it was like the first day that we hung out, like went to dinner, and then we were just hanging out for a little while afterwards. And then so it's like, oh, this really cool thing is happening, and then it drops off. And then it's almost like she acts like I'm crazy for remembering what she said the day before. And then so it was like kind of this like back and forth sort of thing, like just friends. And then like we met for dinner. I let her borrow, like I have these shaman stones, and these Moki shaman stones. I don't know if you're familiar with them. I don't want to like digress too much. They're sitting right there. But anyways, I let her borrow them, and I was getting them back. Well, at that time, I kind of had this friends with benefits sort of relationship with my ex. And so I go and I meet the friend of mine out for dinner to get my stones back. And we were just friends. And then, so she was like saying something. I was getting the hint that she was thinking that it was almost like a date kind of. And then she asked me about my ex. And I told her the complete truth. I was like, yeah, we kind of just like see each other, but we kind of have the deal. If either one of us starts seeing somebody else, then it's over. Like there's no, which I've never even really had that kind of relationship before. I don't really like that, but it was happening. So she starts crying and leaves me at the dinner. I'm like, but then when I'm talking to her, she acts like she wasn't really even interested in me at that time, that we're just friends. And like, how does that make sense if you have this reaction? And then, but at that night so we were talking at the dinner, like before she left me there, and she was talking about like the last guy that she was seeing for a while, and I was like thinking of the story of like her earlier trauma and about like her dad and stuff, and I was, like when you're on the outside looking in, like you can see it so easily when somebody is doing this stuff, but they can't see it. And so I was just about to say, like, do you think it has anything to do with, the relationship with your dad, that you keep going out with these guys that end up being uh,
Oh
abusive,
my
and
gosh.
and
No.
uh, and then she like stops me before I get it out and says, "Oh, stop." She's like, "I already know what you're going to say. I'll give you 70% credit, but I just made the connection that it has to do with my dad." And then it's like, okay, so we can all be like aware of this stuff, but our actions keep like acting like we're not aware of it.
Exactly. That's exactly what we were saying before earlier. I was saying that sometimes we can know in our mind, but if we don't bring it down to the body, the changes, we're not going to really change. That's why we could also meditate all we want and live in our mind, but we have to bring it down to our body. And what does it mean bringing it down to our body? It's kind of hard, because what you really have to do is feel. And I think that's what most of the people don't want to do, is they don't want to feel the pain that they have been keeping in their body stored for so long, That's what really causes later on diseases, because what happens is it becomes a disease when it's like just stored in the body for so long, then it eventually becomes a disease. So that's what it is. We're not at ease in our body. So exactly, you want a person to really change, they really have to do some body work, make it conscious. So what I really do, like let's say with my patients or whatever, my students, let's say we want to touch rage, we have to do a lot of body works of hitting and screaming and kicking and getting it out and making tantrums that you weren't able to make when you were like a 3-year-old. And after that, the thing is, like, you could say, what is that? You start seeing changes in the person. And the person's and being out. The thing is that we get stuck. We're trying to, like, instead of getting stuck, we're trying to make sure that we complete the whole process. It's like a process. First, there's a charge of energy, okay? A lot of people get stuck here. Then it starts generating. There has to be, once it starts getting more charge, there has to be a release. If there's no release of that energy, one second. If there's no release of that energy, sorry. If there's no release, that means that we just keep it in. And then after the release comes the relaxation. That's when a person can really be calm and relaxed. But we live in anxiety totally, because we don't know how to do that complete whole process. that whole process. And those processes and those cycles are in our whole life. Those processes are, let's say, in relationships and everything. There's nothing eternal. Nothing lasts forever. Do you agree with me or no?
Yeah.
Let's say there's nothing that ever is going to last forever. So you have to always live present. Say, okay, now I'm in this relationship. You don't know if you're going to be in that relationship tomorrow. Live it, feel it, be it. We don't want to feel. We don't want to feel the pain. We don't want to be. We don't want to. We're afraid to feel. That's the whole problem in the whole world. Nobody wants to feel anything. We just want to feel joy. But you know what? If you don't feel pain, if you don't feel sadness, you can't feel joy either. It's a door. If you open up the door, you're gonna feel everything, all the emotions. If you don't open up the door, you can't choose. You can't be picky. 1 second. Can we just put pause for a second?
Sure.
Second.
Okay, we're back on.
Sorry.
So you're talking about feeling it and bringing what we know down to our body and our actions.
Exactly. That's the whole body-mind connection.
So like what, this is really interesting, these patterns and that we get into, and then I start like looking at my own patterns. I'd be curious to see what you have to say about that. Like if there's some, cause I'm sure there's things just like I can see in like these women that pick these guys. It's clearly doesn't make sense. But what's that?
You also choose these women.
Yeah. What's my problem? And so like another thing, like one pattern that I had, and it's only showed up a couple of times, I guess, if that still makes a pattern. But there was like the friend of mine that like she was like more than a friend for a while, and then left me at the dinner when she found out I was still seeing my ex sometimes. Like we were meeting, like we were hanging out like about like once a week or something like that. I would usually get like carry out and then take it to her place, or sometimes we'd meet some restaurant, and I was paying for it every time except for once. I was helping her move, and so she's like, okay, you pick up some Thai food and then I'll give you the money when you get here. And so we did that. So there was like one time out of a whole bunch of times where that she paid, and I was paying every other time. And then I thought, okay, I don't want to keep this pattern up of just like I'm paying for everything. Why should I have to pay for everything? And so I sent her a message that was like I was trying to like be funny, so I cracked a couple like little dumb jokes because I didn't want her to think I was mad, but I was like, it would be nice if you would reciprocate. You know, I don't want to pay for every time. It's like it doesn't have to be even. You know, I'm not going to keep track to the dollar or anything like that. But I was like, could we like start switching every other time or something like that? And there's usually a part in a relationship, like with, you know, like my last girlfriend, where, okay, I think it just makes sense for the guy to pay for the first time, the second time, and then somewhere not too long after that, it's nice if the woman says, okay, let me get it this time, without there being a discussion about it. Just like we're out to dinner, the bill comes, and then the woman says, this time is on me. And then I think that's okay. Like, okay, but the first couple times, I think the guy should pay. Definitely the first time. But then I would expect, like, after a while, it starts to even out after it starts to be somewhat even, where we're not keeping track of dollars and cents. But there were like these two, in particular, women that I was talking about, where it was like, it's always me paying. And then like, I'm paying for the concert tickets. I'm paying for and it's like, you know, they might do a little something every now and then, but I wanted to like stop this pattern. And so when I sent her the message, her response was unpleasant to say the least. And she was like, she said, like, you maybe get us carry out once every other month. I'm like, what? It's almost every week. And she's like, well, maybe every other week. I'm like, okay, it might be 2 or 3 weeks in a row, and then not for a week or two, a week. And, so it's not like every single week. And then it was just like this weird thing. And then she didn't talk to me for a little while, like no response for like 10 days. And we were talking about like doing some like business stuff together also. And so like I sent her a message about like business stuff and she didn't answer me. I'm like, okay, then that's done. I'm not playing this. So what do you think that like that's about? Like when, as somebody that deals with this stuff for a living and this is your specialty, like what do you get from that? Like what do you see that's like, what am I doing? Or like, what are they doing? Or just like, what's your take on that whole situation?
Well, I could tell you a million things, but I think that when a lot of people, if you're not clear from the beginning, you have to always be clear from the beginning. There's always going to be, especially in subjects of money, or the three subjects that are always going to be a trigger is money, power, and sex, always. So if you're not clear from the beginning, you can't get really weird that she got weird or upset, because you have your ideas, she has her ideas. The thing is, a lot of people, we think automatically is like, oh, I'm going to give, because eventually she's going to give me back. But guess what? No, you can't have any expectations at all. You have to release that totally. And if you want your relationship to be 50-50 from the beginning, you can't wait. You can't like say, oh, I think the guy has to pay the first all of these meals in the beginning and then she'll pay. No, you're showing from the beginning, you're showing that you're saying, I'm paying, I'll take care of this. It's fine, but you have to be aware of the message you're giving, I think. Because if not, you could just speak about it from the beginning. And that way, whenever we speak about the things from the beginning, there's not going to be that miscommunication. And well, yeah, she got upset, and you have to say, okay, you want to continue with that or not? You have to deal with the consequences. You have to see the options. What are you willing to risk? Always when we speak our truth, there's always like these risks, no? One, that she'll honor what you want, or if you don't speak your truth, who you're betraying yourself. Yeah. You can't control what's going to be her reaction. At least you're honest with yourself, no?
Yeah. And I did a show by myself earlier today that was kind of like that. I called it the gambler, because when I'm playing that card, okay, now I'm going to tell her I don't want to do this anymore. What's going to happen? And there's like this certain risk that comes along with that. But so I get on this subject, like, so from the beginning, like if a guy, are you married or are you single, or like, what's your?
Me, I'm married. I have 4 kids.
Okay. And how long have you been married?
11 years.
Okay. So like at the beginning, or like in general, like your friends that maybe are not married, like what's the thing to do? Like when a guy asks them out, or like when your husband first was asking you out, like, and what if like the bill comes and he's like, okay, your part is $12.72. Like, wouldn't you think like, what are you talking about, $12.72? Like
Well, I think it depends the country a lot. I think it has to do a lot with where you live, the country. Like Mexico is like such a big macho place that the guy is going to want to take care of everything. So it's kind of normal that the guy gets the bill around here.
like throughout, like the guy is expected to pay, like for the whole time.
Look, the girl could pay. It's fine if she wants to pay. Like, yeah, but she's the one that has to offer. Usually, if not, the guy that pays, but not usually. Yeah, I think there's no law. It depends the age. Me, when I was going out with my husband and this and that, well, I was a teenager, so I got married when I was like 18. So,
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he got all the bills. Then I didn't have any income then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying, and I say that if you wanted to be like that, if you wanted to be fair from the beginning, you have to put the rules from the beginning. Just like you said from the beginning, like you said a little while ago, you said, I want, like this girl said, she said, I want a monogamous relationship. The same thing you have to say, I want this relationship to be 50-50 in bills and everything. And it's fine. If she accepts, Great. That means she really that means she also when I feel like when the woman, like, she also supports a lot in the household and she brings the income, it makes the marriage much stronger too. So it's or whatever the relationship. So it is it has the benefits for her too, to be paying 50-50 the bill. But you have to put it from the beginning. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess like with most of the time it's just been like, it just makes sense, like 50-50. I don't want her to open the door for me half the time and I open the door for her half the time. No, it's like I would open the door for the woman. That's just like, I guess that's just how my mom taught me. My mom walks up to the door and then a man opens the door. Maybe I'm the man, maybe my stepdad is the man, but it's it's just kind of like, it's just what I do. So I don't expect a woman I'm seeing that's like open my car door for me half the time and open the door to the restaurant half the time and this kind of thing. So it's not like, but like with the other relationships, it was just like, okay, I pay for the first time, the second time. And then there's a time when, like, without any discussion, the woman just says, I'm taking care of this time.
Because she doesn't want to feel, a lot of people also, they don't want to feel in debt.
Yeah.
They want to feel that they're participating, and it's fine, but not all women are like that. Not all. And yeah, you don't expect the woman to open the door, but the woman is expected to, like, she is going to give you other things that maybe you're not going to give her in a different way, in a different manner.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's, I mean, we don't have to get too hung up on this, like, paying for dinner thing, but I think it was like this, it's kind of like this event in my, in my life. It's like, I'm trying to like analyze what's going on. So, like, do you think that, like, maybe the woman that, like, kind of expects her dinner to always be taken, like the guy to always take care of everything, do you think it has to do with like
No.
dad stuff or from childhood? Or
No, I don't think it has to do with that, always that a woman has to expect that the guy should pay for everything. I think we're not in those times anymore that the woman expects. Now we're in different times. But if a woman does that, it probably works, not that stuff. That's probably how it goes in her family. As simple as that. That's what they taught her. That the guy pays for the meal. No?
yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just like, as I'm like going forward and seeing like what it is that I attract and like these different patterns, and they're not all the same, but there's like some recurring themes that I can kind of see. And like if I'm like, like I get like concert tickets, I usually want to get the best tickets. So if I want to go to a go to a concert, and I want like the front row, or like I just got tickets like the second row. No, I've paid like $300 for concert tickets. I don't expect you to say, okay, now you owe me $150. It's like, I want to go to this concert. I'm not expecting
You're
you.
inviting her.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
inviting
not.
her to the concert.
What's
Who's
that?
inviting who? You're inviting her to the concert, or she's inviting you to the concert.
Yeah, yeah.
Who wants to go to the concert?
Yeah, so if I'm the one that's wanting to go, these tickets are like really expensive. I don't expect her to like cough up $150 for a concert that I'm really the one that wants to go to, whether she likes it or not. But so, I forgot where I was going with that. Like,
That you
so
expect her to pay for half of it. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't expect that, but yeah, it's like, I don't know. I guess it would just be nice if after a time, then they would feel like some kind of need to reciprocate. And I just wonder, like with the cases I was talking about, where the friend of mine who we did see each other for a while, like she has this reaction, like it was kind of just surprising to me. But then because there's been a couple times where I felt like, okay, I'm just one of a bunch of guys that is doing stuff for her.
Oh,
Like that's what and that's happened twice. And so it's like, oh, it's not just me taking her to concerts. It's that guy and that guy. Oh, it's not just me taking her doing these things. It's that guy, and then there's this guy, and so it's like, there's this like, I don't want to be one of just this whole bunch of dudes that does stuff for her.
Exactly. So you say, what do I want to do with that? Do I want to
Mhm.
continue this way, being one of the other guys, or because I like her, or I'm not willing to be in that relationship? You're not going to be able to change her. She's going to be continue unless she wants to. She wants to change. She's not going to change unless she wants to. The one that has to work on himself is you, not her. That's exactly one of the biggest issues in our lives, is that we keep going on, and that's what I was telling you. Why am I attracting these toxic relationships? I was telling you before. I'm not, instead of saying, oh, these people, what are these, they're doing harm to me, they're saying this and this and this. Yes, I could put the blame on them, but actually I'm the one that's attracting them. What do I have to do? And why do I feel that this is unfair? Why do you feel it's unfair that she's going out with other guys while going out with you? If she was honest with it, or wasn't she honest about that?
It was more like they were friends.
Okay.
Like she just has a bunch of guy friends, but just like knowing how a lot of guys work, and even though I might not like to admit it, I might be doing the same thing, expecting
And she's
something
not
to
hiding it
happen.
from you. She never hid it from you. She never hid
Yeah.
that from you. She's not pretending that she doesn't have other guy friends that take her out and this and that, just like you. No?
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of like talking about a couple different cases, but in one of them, yeah, sort of kind of there was a little bit of deceit going on, but not. So it's like kind of yes and kind of no. And then it's like
What do you
stuff that kind of like surfaces over time. Like, oh, now I get it. So it's like she's just in the uh, this pattern of like it's just normal for guys to do stuff for her. It's just like so. It's like, okay, I don't want to be part of that pattern anymore. I'm going to just like tell her that, and then whatever happens because I can't just go along with that sort of thing.
Exactly. If you're not willing to go on with that, you just have to be willing to cut the risks. Let it
Yeah,
go.
and like
But
so if I was like coming to your uh, practice and seeing you as in a clinical setting, then and you hear me say that kind of stuff, like what's the process of uh, like biodynamic psychotherapy that like so where would you start with that? Because you'd be like thinking, man, this why is this guy like? I'm just
well,
kind of
I
curious,
sense a
like
lot of
what you
anger.
see is
I
what I'm
sense a lot
doing.
of anger towards the woman. We would work on that issue, letting you feel that anger that you have of the unfairness, and that's not fear. It's not fear. It's not fear. You have to connect to that anger, and I hope you actually feel that anger. Then we would have to work and do some body work and releasing all that anger work, and then comes acceptance that, well, you can't control other people, but you could control and realize that really that all that anger is to yourself, that you're the one that is putting yourself in those situations, or you're the one that is those ideas in your head that are creating that inner conflict. No, that you don't know how many times you just like, I was listening to you and you were like saying, I believe that the man has to pay the first few bills, and I believe in a monogamous relationship, and I believe, and I'm listening to you, and I'm listening, and I'm listening, and I'm listening, and I see you have so much ideas of what how you're supposed to be, but those
Hmm.
are ideas. It's not your truth. But you're like, if not, you wouldn't even speak it. You would not even like speak about it. I believe that it has to be in a monogamous relationship. I've never cheated. Like, you're like justifying yourself, but it's not. I'm not because it's wrong what you're saying, but it's because it's really coming from an idea in your head, and you're not actually feeling it. So I would actually help you see that in a more loving manner, because I don't know if this is the way telling the person in the clinic. You'll not be able to tell the person directly their thing. They have to get to their own realization, and they have to see that for themselves. So it could be really the true change if you want a person, but like that would take a whole long process. To be able to realize that that's your truth. That's really the ideas in your head that are conflicting you and putting you in a little box. It's not like, once you really connect to your true source, you stop seeing the world in such a judgmental manner. I feel like you see you have a lot of inner judgments. That's what it is. Sorry.
I think no, don't be sorry. I think you're really good. I think you're really correct. Like that's very insightful, and you can feel free to like, yeah, I know like thousands and thousands of people are going to be hearing this, but it's just reality, and I don't mind. Like I've put out like a lot of very personal stuff. It's like whatever you can see, then I'm perfectly cool with you saying like whatever you want. I don't want you to like try to like censor yourself or anything like that. And so what you just did there, I thought was really cool, and it does make sense because I do try to hold myself to this ideal
guy that you have to be this way, certain way, exactly. And that's exactly when you're not flowing, you're not letting yourself be. Guess what? If you break off all those little ideas and start all those voices in your head that are not even yours, they're like ideas, and you should be like this, and you have to open the door, and you have to do this, and the woman should pay and that pay or this, and like it's like so much what the way it's supposed to be. If you would actually be in a natural flow state, you would not see the things that hard, or that you would be like much more relaxed.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
What?
I said that's really good. I think you're right on. I don't think I can argue any of that. And like, so for instance, like I was just thinking, like I've been doing martial arts for like most of my life, and I was thinking recently about quitting and just learning to dance instead, because I'm not anywhere close to a dancer. And like in martial arts, I'm just kind of like, I'm sick of getting beat up. I'm sick of having injuries. My toes messed up. My knee just healed after it's been messed up for a year. I had a rib, and then what's that?
Your knee?
Yeah, and
right or left?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to break that down too.
Very, very, very hard on yourself. Your body tells you that, even if it's an accident, very rigid. Martial arts is very, 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 very good. I wouldn't recommend you to like leave it completely, because it does give you a certain discipline and alignment. Especially, it's like when martial arts is one of the few exercises that actually, I don't know if you like it actually aligns your whole energy. But when you do it from such a hard, rigid manner, it's like it's like, I don't know how to say in English, contraproducente. It gives you, it bounces back. That's how I'm trying to say. But why don't you try dancing and letting it go and doing martial arts too? I do yoga and I dance. Completely different. You have to find your opposites, and you have to find your space where you can relax and flow, but without letting go of that certain discipline of consistency. You have to, it's good. But if you're like really, you're destroying yourself, and you're like your knee and this and that, and your body's telling you, guess what? This is not working for me anymore. You have to also respect your body. So you should actually maybe take a break from it for a while. It doesn't mean forever, but
yeah, it's been like so like I was thinking about like capoeira, which I don't know if you know what capoeira is, but it's like kind of like it's a like Afro-Brazilian martial art. It's like, it's kind of like dancing, because the slaves were not allowed to practice martial arts. So it looked like they were dancing, but really they were doing kicks and punches and stuff. But it's like disguised in this. It's really a beautiful thing. As a martial art, like I wouldn't say it's like super effective, like self-defense. Like if someone wants to learn self-defense, I wouldn't say go learn capoeira. But anyways,
it aligns your energy. It aligns the martial arts. It's not only for self-defense. It's for aligning all your energy. That's what it's like. One of the main reasons is connecting to your core. That's what I think.
Yeah, and so part of it, I like jujitsu is my main thing. So I like, grappling with somebody like big and strong, and having like tough matches, and I like to win, but even if I lose against somebody that's better than me, that's okay. That's just the way martial arts is. You get beat up, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's reality. And then, but I start like getting like all these like so many like little injuries building up. And then so I was thinking, okay, like, well, dancing, like, so I could like loosen up, not like loosen up like kind of like what you were saying, not like loosen up like, oh, I need to have more flexibility kind of thing, but more like, because when even from the time I was, and then maybe like part of it, but so my daughter was born like 2 months before I turned 19, so I was still 18, and so when I was uh, 18 or 19, I was working at this place, and it's kind of like a FedEx or UPS, kind of like that, but like a really small one. So like unloading trucks and loading trucks. And so I had this like responsibility now of a daughter coming, and I was a kid just months ago, and so now I got to be an adult. And the owner of the business was talking to me, and he's like, "You're too serious." He's like, "That's not good." And this is like the owner of the business telling me, like where other people might be like, "You need to quit goofing off," like, "What are you doing?" He's telling me like, "You're too serious." And like a girlfriend that I met at a yoga class, she was a yoga teacher, but well, we were just taking this class at the same time. And before we started dating, her dad came to the class, and I was there. And so we started dating, and so she was telling her dad about me, and she described me as the guy in yoga class that was really serious. And it's like, so I'm thinking, okay, like maybe I need to just like release this kind of thing. And so now I have two kids. My daughter just turned 21, and my son just turned 18. So I have like one more year of child support. I don't mind paying child support. I've never tried to get away from it or anything like that. I've always tried to see my kids as much as possible. But it's like I feel like a bit of relief coming, because it's like since I've been 18,
You're just getting back to your teenage years right now.
yeah.
Like it was like, okay, I'm a teenager, okay, an adult, but you really never finished living as a teenager. So right now you're all of a sudden then you're going to be free again, and you're going to start living. You have that need to go dance and move and this and that. It's a need that you didn't never you I was saying, we get frozen in those timelines. You have to finish living your teenage years because you never really lived it because you were too responsible. So right now, guess what? Go ahead, be a teenager. Big deal.
Yeah.
Go dance.
Yeah, I'll probably feel
do funny facial expressions to relax. One second. Exactly. You have to do all your facial expressions to relax. That's one of the with my students, when I make them classes, I'm like, you have to make funny faces, and they're all like, we have to relax our facial expressions. One second.
okay, hit pause. Okay, we're back on. So I noticed like when you asked me like right knee or left knee, and I've read a little bit about this before. I'm not sure exactly what you're going to say, but like what's the significance of the site of the injury and the what joint or whatever?
Well, it has to do a lot with masculine energy, feminine energy. It has to do, the knee is connected. Well, depends in each person. It has to do a lot with the heart, but in your case, I would say that it's a way of, okay, this is what I'm getting. That life is pushing you to go forward in something because it's like the right knee, and that's why you hurt your knee. Like you like a step that you haven't been, like life is trying to move you, like to take a step in a different direction. So that's what I got. It could also be like feeling your heart broken or something like that. But I got more the taking the step in life, changing directions.
Interesting you say the heart. That's the heart chakra behind me, heart chakra lotus.
Yeah.
And I'm getting T-shirts made for the podcast, and I don't have like the logo for the podcast. You've probably seen it. It just says the name, and it has the green, and the green is for the heart chakra. On most of it's like a neon green, but that's just so it sticks out, like on iTunes and everything. But I'm getting T-shirts made, and the first ones are heart chakra, like with the. So it's interesting that you say that. That's
I have to do well. Yeah, we usually look for what we most need. No, so like if you're focusing right now on the heart chakras, because you need to focus that in yourself. It's funny because also this I give some classes. I give classes of sometimes like these types of courses. No, so I give this classes of. I go within all the energy centers. I connect them with the tree of life, and I connect them with the chakras, showing them where it connects each one. And each week we focus on a different energy center. And right now on Monday, I'm gonna give the one. Oh, it's tomorrow. But this week, I'm starting with the heart chakra. So it's like I was thinking right now. I was like preparing the whole class and everything. So it's fun.
yeah, yeah. It's really interesting. So what you were talking about the meditation. What kind of meditation are you talking about? Can you describe the technique that you recommend?
Well, I give a lot of different techniques of meditations, also like breathing, mindfulness, emptying the mind, focusing on one thing only, sometimes like on a certain letter. But most of the meditations, how do I say this? Okay. I channel the words. I don't prepare them so much. I give guided meditations. I don't write them down. I just know the subject, and I connect to a higher source, and I let myself the words come as they come. And while I'm guiding the meditation, I'm also moving the energy in the group, and everybody's moving their own, so it's like amazing. So that's the type of meditations I usually give as a teacher. But when I meditate myself, I do the same thing, but for myself. I just connect and I empty out my mind and I connect to a higher source, and I let myself go within and explore within what comes up. That's exactly what I try to do.
Yeah. What do you think of like Zen meditation? Because I don't meditate like real regularly these days, but I started Zen meditation at my jiu-jitsu class. So, in like the microcosmic orbit, and so I learned that from my jiu-jitsu teacher. He's from Korea. He's been teaching here since 1967. He's like 70 something, like, or I don't know how old. But so I like learned this way, and I know that it works, and how to use the microcosmic orbit for different reasons, even like sexual vitality stuff. But it's also like this like rigid. It's a rigid posture, but it's easy to keep good posture. Like, so would you recommend like you see, like in my case, like you're seeing
A lot of rigidity. Yeah.
like so would you say like more rigid meditation is probably not the way, or does it really matter if you're in like Zen posture? Or
I think it is good to, when you're meditating, to be in a very rigid posture because I feel like when you're like sitting straight and your back is like aligned, that's when the energy flow the right way. If you're like lying down and all, it might get stuck, the energy, and maybe it doesn't have the same effect. being rigid is not always bad. It's also, instead of calling it rigid, we call it disciplined. It's not bad. It's not bad to be disciplined. It has its pros, but it has its cons. That's why we have to learn. And once if you make it conscious, you can say, okay, when I'm meditating, I have this rigid posture, but I won't let my mind be rigid. You get it? Because what's going to happen is when you're trying to only control your mind and you don't let go, you don't enter deeply in your meditation. So it doesn't go in within your whole body. You could open up much more to greater layers if you let your mind open up. But there's a lot of techniques. A lot of people think that meditating is, I have to see this specifically. That's why we always say in the meditation, if there's another thing that comes up, we just observe it and we let it go. That means it's not supposed to be hard. Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to be hard on yourself in the meditation, because if you're hard on yourself in the meditation, you're not getting the effect you're wanting to get. No, it's just going to be another thing in your life that you're being hard on yourself on. But it's discipline, good. Rigidity, bad. That's exactly, you just have to learn how to realize. You feel it in your body when you're being hard on yourself. And you feel in your body when you're being disciplined. It feels so different. It feels so different. That's what I'm saying. You have to respect your body. If you felt so fractured and you this and that, that's not discipline anymore. That's pushing yourself too hard. No?
Yeah, you make sense. So how do you see the chakras? You talked about the energy centers, and I guess I started yoga about like 25 years ago, and not necessarily the like go to the class and up dog, down dog, warrior two kinds of stuff, but more like Krishna consciousness is how I got introduced to it, and more like bhakti yoga, karma yoga, these type of things. And then like when I actually went to a yoga class, it was like, wait, what? It's like, what's this guy? It's like, okay, that's yoga too, but it seems like a lot of people are.
It's in style now. they forget the purpose. A lot of people now see yoga just like another exercise method, but it's really, it depends on each one of us if we really want it to be something much more. But you can't, whatever the other people do, well, good for them. But if you really want to do it because you want to connect with yourself, once you're connecting with your breath and while being in a certain position or this and that, that's only something that you could give for yourself. Not even the teacher could give it for you, can make you go there. Only you could go there. So yeah, I do feel like a lot of people nowadays, like there's a lot of yogis that are like, it's just because it's in style. And there's a lot of people that's not true, that they're really, really connected. So we can't like really generalize. It's depends on each and one of us if we really want to go there. No?
Yeah, I can be, might be hard for you to believe, but I can be pretty tough on yoga also. And just like the way I see it done, or the way that I think I need to do it. And to me, it doesn't have like hardly anything to do with those postures. It's like, it's almost like weird that they've like labeled that and that's how they package it. But what was it? Oh, the chakras is what I was wanting to ask about. So it's like my direct experience of them is like different than what I typically would read about in the books. Most of the books are the same, and they're written like they're just basically copied from other books. And so like I saw the Sahasrara in like a dream state. Like I wasn't really asleep, but I wasn't really awake, and I could see it, and it only happened one time, but it was very interesting, and it looked almost like a brain kind of, but it was like purplish, greenish, like kind of different colors, and it didn't stay the same color for like even a split second. It was constantly changing colors, and like luminescent kind of thing going on. It was really strange. But then like working down, I can't say that I've actually seen them like I saw the Sahasrara, but then I just kind of like wonder, okay, is it like a like some like models of it are like, okay, we go through this in different stages of our life. So when we're like from a baby to like 10 years old, it's the first chakra, and then from like 10 to 17, it's the second chakra, and then it goes up and up and up, and then you get to be older, and then you get up into 6 and 7 as you get 70 years old or whatever. Or like they're like these like psychological concepts, or like, so when you're like working with them or describing them, how do you see them or teach them, or can you actually like see them or feel them yourself? Like what are they to you, I guess, is my question.
Well, I just think they're energy centers that they receive and they let go. They receive energy and they take out energy. They're channels, really. I feel like a lot of people just focus on one certain chakra, but really we're not supposed to only focus on one or the other. And so many people are just focusing on the third eye and the heart, and it's not true. Or it has to be all, because if we don't focus on all of them, we don't get exactly what if you want really illumination, if you want to really see that and really experience that whole ascension process, you have to really work on each and every one of them. I believe that there's certain times in our lives that we are working on that we are living through a certain energy on each one of our chakras, but I don't think there's a law. It's just that's like I could tell you, yes, it's A, B, and C. It's not true. I think every person has such a different experience, and every person can have such a different you said that you saw like a brain like this and that. That's your subconscious mind making that interpretation so you can understand how it is. But that's your image, so you can understand for you what it is. Maybe for me it doesn't make sense like that, because maybe I see it like so different. Doesn't But the thing is, the way you see it or the way I see it, the point is that our subconscious mind makes us feel and see it the same way, whatever it is. So if you see a certain color, it's okay, it makes sense to you. I can see a different color. It doesn't matter what color it is, like like what you just said, by the book, red, orange. It doesn't matter what color it is. It's just, the point is that we wanted to have it healthy and working for us. So it doesn't matter if I say what you're saying is okay, as long as it for you it's like your truth. It's your interpretation for what you feel. Our whole life, what we're supposed to be doing is connecting each and every one of them. We're supposed to connect them. Oh, 1 second. Okay. Got disconnected. 1 second. We're supposed to be see, I'm talking about connection and it got disconnected. No coincidence. Yeah, that's our whole job in life. We're supposed to continually be connecting, because if you want to really be a successful person in life, and you want to be aligned, and you want to be connected to yourself, you have to be connected. That's for me, the chakras. The way I work with them, I feel them with my hands when I'm doing a healing. I do get images usually, but I do get images. I do feel. There's a lot of ways to develop our sensibility. We all have that psychic. Everybody, whoever says, guess what? I'm psychic. I was born with this gift. Oh my gosh, I'm so spiritual. Like, I've seen so many people acting like that, and I'm like, come on, we all are. We're all human beings. We're all living in the human experiences. It's just that if we want to develop it or not, or we're aware of it or not. So some people feel more, some people see more, some people hear, some people smell. We all have psychic abilities. And all that people that try to put themselves above other people by saying, I'm psychic. Guess what? So are you. So am I. We're all psychic. You could all feel. If we're connected with ourselves, if you connect, that's what I'm trying to say, that you connected you were connected to your source, and you were able to see that image. That's your psychic. That's your psychic development and telling you what it is. And maybe I can see it in a different way, but it has the same message. You get what I'm saying? Mm. But yeah, then we start developing much more senses. Now then we start smelling. The more you work with energy, you start after feeling and smelling and seeing and hearing. And sometimes it depends also on the patient. depends who am I working on. It's like funny, like I could be working with a patient and I get so many images, and I'm working with another patient and I feel a lot, because also we're like working with my energy field with their energy field. So it's like every it becomes a different mixture with every with every person. It's never the same. It's never the same. That's what I'm trying to say. It's never the same, the way we interpret or we feel the things. So I just think that all we're supposed to focus on is, instead of going to that whole idea of the brain and this and that, just guess what? Let's focus on healing and cleaning our life. Yes, in the energetic level, but also taking the actions where needed, because we are on this earth. We do have to take these actions. So like I could be telling you, yes, you're supposed to work on your heart chakra, feel the pain, yes and that, but you're also supposed to do the actions of self-love. You're also supposed to bring it down to earth, bring it down, because and the meditation is so powerful and gives us such a great ability to be able to see. But after all seeing, we're supposed to bring it down to earth, bring it, the root it, ground it, and bring it to your actions, as long as we're in this body and on this planet.
Yeah, I think you're really good. I'm pretty impressed, really. How did you get into all of this? Like, what was there some kind of event, or was this how you were since you were a little kid, or?
Well, I was always sensitive, but I used to be like that little that little girl that was always afraid of the dark, because I could see things. And nobody like it was like I used to, yeah, it was like that little girl that has imaginary friends. That you never really tell anybody about these things, because you think that what's going on. After now I appreciate it, because I realized that was part of my development. It's like I was always open to all this. I remember in class, I used to be the girl that, instead of listening to the teacher, what she was saying, I used to be looking at her aura, like seeing the light around the head. And then also I would see how it got bigger and then smaller, and the way she was talking. And it was like always interested in this. But then obviously later on I blocked it, because that's not real. You have to continue on in life. Then about few years, it was, what was it, yeah, then after all, when I got into that, it was again, well, a lot of people, we get into this because of crisis. Emotional crisis. I was dealing through emotionally. I felt like I couldn't carry on anymore. Like I was living a life, I felt like a robot. Like I felt like completely disconnected from myself. I started having panic attacks, and I started getting so much, I had a lot of anxiety. So then I remember one day, I was always spiritual. One day I woke up at 4:00 in the morning. I went for a walk to the garden, to this and that, and I started crying and opening up my heart and saying, I need to find my purpose in life. I need to find my purpose in life. A week later, I was introduced to my teacher of my energy healer. And in that moment, I knew that was like such a divine connection, because it was like that moment exactly that I needed that. And from then, it was like amazing, because for the first time in my life, I understood what was astral projection. I didn't, before I used to be afraid to go to sleep, because I was afraid to start floating on top of my body, because I thought I was dying. And no one explained to me anything of these things, and I always was already moving a lot of energy in those times. So it was fun, because instead of being fearful of all the sensitivity, I became to know it, and that empowerment of like, instead of fearing it, it's your power. So that's how and then after that, it just, one thing led to another and to another and to another, and it just opened up, like, it was just always open. I just did the connection. So I'm very grateful for this whole path, because it worked in me. If I wouldn't have felt it myself in my own life, like the way it changed my life so strongly, I wouldn't believe so much in this, and I wouldn't want to work in this, and I wouldn't want to help people the same way, because it's something I lived so strongly through myself, that I know, well, that was my way. Obviously, there's a lot of people that have different ways, but the people who want to come with me and want to know which I can lead the way because I went through it. I know the way. So that's exactly, that's
Yeah,
my story.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've had like I guess you could say different experiences from the time I was a really little kid also, and so it's like I've always been kind of fascinated with this like spiritual path and like what's real, because there's uh, we can like, yeah, I guess just like what's real. So it's like even like the chakra stuff, and I'm reading these books over the last 20 some years about it, and like, okay, which one's real? It's like some people were saying different stuff, and like these like psychic things that happen, and like my own experiences, and so it's really interesting. And then, but then sometimes like you meet somebody, and then it's like, okay, like my jujitsu teacher was like one of the ones that really like blew my mind, because that's where I started learning like meditation. That was when I was 18 years old, so it was like 1997 when I started there. And I would have like this question, like, okay, I'm going to ask him about this. And then we'd be at class, and then he would answer my question, but I didn't even ask him. He would just like look at me and just answer whatever the question I had in my mind that might have been something kind of obscure, but he was just like, okay, that was real. And it didn't just happen once or twice. It was kind of a regular thing. And then my mom is pretty intuitive, and I've had like all these experiences, but sometimes you meet somebody, and like sometimes I think like what you were talking about before, like people that are saying like, oh, I'm so spiritual and all this, it's almost like they're a caricature of
Oh, come on.
the spiritual thing. But like when like what you're doing, I think it's I believe what you're saying, because you seem to be like dead on about this kind of stuff. And not to like put down what other people are doing, because even if they're doing yoga that's different than mine, it's still like, I'm not saying it's wrong, because like whatever path they're on is the path that they're on. So, but I forget what I was going with there. But so do you? We can like, I'm not in any hurry or anything, but we can start to like wrap it up if you want. Did you have anything else that you're wanting to get into? Because I could talk to you about this stuff for forever. But
Me too, but yeah. I'm just trying to say that everybody has their path, their own way of connecting, and everybody also has their own time, their own timing. When I first got on into this, I was trying to impose it on people, like saying, look, oh my gosh, this is so the way, and this is, and then you learn how to respect that. Also, not everybody's willing to awake, and it's just it's not in their charts. It's fine. They don't have to work on this in this lifetime, and it's fine. So I'm trying to say is like, yeah, if a lot of people want to do yoga to connect spiritually, it's fine. If another person wants to do it to do exercise, it's fine. And like you were saying about the books, that there's so many different interpretations of the chakras and all that, and which one's right and which one's wrong. I believe that they're all probably correct for the person who wrote it. And if there's something that sticks with you, keep it. And there's something that doesn't belong to you, and you say, you know what, I don't feel this, let it go. You don't have to like fight with the whole book. You just have to learn how to choose what is for you, what is not for you. You have to learn how to be selective. And that's the only way we could be that, is when we're like really connected to ourselves. And that way, if you really connect to yourself, that's when you could say, okay, this is for me, this is not for me. And it's fine. I don't have to get mad at the person, at the altar, at whatever. You receive what you're supposed to receive, and you let go what you're not supposed to let go. And also, yeah, we stop trying to impose our ideas on other people too, because that's what it is. Once you're connected to yourself and you're connected to your own path, that's what happened. Like, you start realizing, guess what? Everybody has their own path, and I'll respect that too, because I respect my own path. You get it?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I've been thinking even more about that kind of thing lately. And like so I'm certified through Strong First as a kettlebell instructor, and like all the Strong First shirts are black. And then you can like look at a bunch of Strong First instructors, and most of them look the same. They look a lot like me. If I'm standing there in my black Strong First shirt, and all the other dudes are standing there in their Strong First shirts, it looks like we're all like brothers and cousins and stuff. It looks like the same guy almost. And
Copy paste.
yeah, and all the shirts are black, and everything's black and gray. It's a really good certification. I'm not trying to say anything bad about the certification, but I'm letting that certification go and just doing my own thing for strength conditioning. I've been developing my own system for years and years. But so I'm getting shirts made for the podcast. And I don't know if maybe I was just talking about this earlier. I don't think I mentioned it with you, but I'm getting fitness and consciousness shirts made. It's going to have I'm having a friend of mine make them. So if people want one, like theirs is going to end up being a little bit different, because each one is going to be like handmade. So even though people can have it'll be a fitness and consciousness shirt, but no two of them are the same. They're all going to be their own thing, because I'm not trying to like whether it's through my as a personal trainer, strength conditioning stuff. I'm not trying to get people to be like me. I'm trying to like show other people their strength, and for them to like get their own way. And so even if they want my shirt, it's going to be unique to them, because no two will be the same. Just like nobody's fitness and consciousness is going to be the same thing.
Nobody has the exact same body. Nobody has the same exact consciousness. Exactly my point. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's very interesting thing. So do you do like online classes, or or is everything that like you do, is it all in person, or?
I've done everything in person. Right now I'm developing I'm trying to develop I'm still very green, developing, like trying to develop a system of trying to bring it online more of all this without trying to lose this organic nature, not commercialize everything. But we'll see. That's the plan, to try to start expanding.
Yeah. So what if somebody wants to work with you, just like a one-on-one thing, can they do so over like Skype, or like what we're using now is Zoom? Can they
No,
do
yeah,
that?
definitely. I do healings. I do healing by phone. I could do that. And yeah, I could work by phone. The thing is, the classes, I was trying to develop the classes, and that's like such a different story.
Mhm.
But on one-on-one, it's so easy. Yeah. This is like,
How can people get a hold of you?
with my number, my Instagram, because send me a message to my Instagram, and I'll answer them back. And
Okay.
then I'll
Yeah. I'll leave
send my
your
PayPal account. Well,
I'll leave
yeah,
your Instagram. I'll post this on Instagram and on Facebook so people can figure it out. Well, like I said, I'm not in any hurry, but if you want to talk about anything else, I'm open to it, or we can wrap it up if you want.
yeah, we can wrap it up. I think that's like so many ideas. Like, I like to close, like to just like I like not leaving everything up in the air, because I think like so important to like start connecting what everything we spoke about it. How could we connect everything, and like in a way of bringing it together, bringing it down. So like, what would you say in a few words? What were you left with? How was your experience of listening and talking about this and everything that we spoke about? Tell me.
Well,
How to bring this down, like instead of leaving it all up in the air. Yeah, I spoke about this and this and this and this. Like, how would we bring it down to our life, and how would we apply in our lives everything we spoke about right now?
well, I think I'll probably go with like what you said, like what we were talking about, like with the martial arts, like not quit it completely, but uh, and then like doing something to like loosen up more and try to be less like rigid. And I'm going to go back and re-listen to it and everything. But it's like, that's what it was like kind of encouraging, because like some of the stuff I've been thinking about before, but it's interesting when somebody, this is the first time we've actually spoken, but you're able to just dial right in and get to it. You can see right through everything that I'm talking about and get right to the heart of the matter, but like heart stuff. And so it was cool to have you as the 100th episode. This is episode 100. And there are so if people are like looking for there's not quite there's like 97 available now. So I deleted 3 for various reasons, but this is episode 100. And so it was cool to have this be the 100th episode. But I think that's a good thing so when I talk about like the personal stuff, because I think a lot of people can identify with the personal stuff, and instead of talking about just like generalities, it's like, this is what I have going on. This is talking about my ex-girlfriend and this other girl I was seeing. Like this is, and I'm not like hooking up with tons of girls by any means, not even close. Like this is me. This is real.
Again, the ideas.
The idea is this is my rigid.
Okay, what did you do? Hook up with a bunch of girls? No judgment. Just let it go. Let it go. You don't have to defend yourself.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back and look through that, but I think it's cool for people to see, because then they can identify more when people are just like open and honest, and people can identify with it. So I hope you liked how it went, and
Yeah.
I hope you. I'd love to have you on again and talk about like more of the same or something different, or whatever you want to talk about. And like if you start launching more online stuff, if you want to come on and promote it, you have an open invitation to
Thank
come on
you.
whenever you want.
Thank
So
you for
you have
having me. Thank you. It was like very nice also. I learned a lot also, listening to all this. It's always good to listen to yourself also speak. It's always, I think it's one of the best ways. It's like a mirror, no?
Yeah.
Always listen and see and catch ourselves where are our blind spots. So.
Yeah, very cool. Any final thoughts to leave everyone with?
No, I just think be you, flow, connect to your own, honor your inner rhythm. Exactly, right? What we were saying in the beginning. Yeah. That's exactly it. Everybody has their own path, their own way. Not what works for the other person is necessarily going to work for you, but connect to you to know what's working for you. That's the main thing that we're supposed to do in life. So.
Yes. Well, very cool. Well, thank you for being on. I think that worked out really well. I'm glad you're the 100th episode. And I will, I'll stop the recording and I'll talk to you for just a second after we stop.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Thank you.